My brothers and sisters, this is ODJ, Otis Drip Jones, Mr. Do It Man himself. I came across this video of Senator Mitch McConnell, Senator of Kentucky, and he said this.
Yeah, I don't think reparations for something that happened 150 years ago for whom none of us currently living are responsible is a good idea. We've tried to deal with our original sin of slavery by fighting a civil war, by passing landmark civil rights legislation. We've elected an African-American president. I think we're always a work in progress in this country, but no one currently alive was responsible for that.
He doesn't think paying reparations for something that happened 150 years ago, which no one who's currently living is responsible for, is a good idea. He don't want to pay the descendants of slaves reparations for what we are still experiencing from the effects of slavery. And just because no white person living today had a direct hand in slavery, they're still benefiting from what they received through slavery. The monetary gain that they received through slavery, the land that they acquired through slavery. And let's not forget that the U.S. paid slave owners reparations because they had to free their slaves when they lost the war. He said they tried to pay for the original sins of slavery through passing legislation, civil rights legislation, and even electing an African-American president. That has nothing to do with atoning for what you did through slavery. Those things that happened as far as passing civil rights legislation, we still have to fight for that. You all didn't voluntarily pass those laws. We had to fight for those laws. Like even the right to vote. We had to fight for the right to vote. We had to fight to be able to sit at the counter, a food counter, as white folks. You know, with those signs above a water fountain said colored, and the other sign above the water fountain that said white. And if you were colored and you drank from a white water fountain, you would potentially be beaten, killed, or even thrown in jail. But you don't think paying us reparations is a good idea? Well, let's define what reparations mean. Reparations, by definition, says making of amends for wrongs or injury done. Another definition says restoration to good condition. You all have not made amends for our injuries. And passing civil rights legislation and or even electing a black president is not restoring black people to good condition. Black people, even today, still suffer from post-traumatic slave syndrome. And it's become such an innate part of us that things that are done now that were done in slavery to protect us from racist, white, evil slave owners has matriculated into our DNA, and what was done out of protection has become normal because it is inside of us. But you don't think restoring us to a good condition is a good idea? But then you talk about Chicago, and you talk about all the killing in Chicago. You talk about the poverty that is experienced in Chicago, the lack of economic resources in Chicago, different ones in Chicago who may live in the hood, not able to live in the neighborhood that they want to live in, because people won't allow them to reside in that area, or they don't have the monetary resources to live in that area. And don't think for 1 second that people in Chicago are not denied residency based off of the color of their skin. I know firsthand because I am born and raised in Chicago. So my firsthand experience proves to me that there are areas that I couldn't live in simply because of the color of my skin. Areas that I couldn't live in, that I was able to afford to live in, but I couldn't, and no one would rent to me because of the color of my skin. But you don't want to restore black people to a good condition, but you talk about us when you leave us in the condition that we're in. How evil of you, Mitch McConnell. And you are the same one who went against everything that the one and only African-American president elected. Every legislation, everything that he tried to push, you went away, you went against it. Remember that? You said that you would not vote for anything that he pushed. You said that. But you don't think it's a good idea to restore black people to a good condition. Everyone else is restored to a good condition. You all pay reparations to everyone else, but not us. It's been talk about Nick Cannon, what he said, and how the Jewish people have received reparations, and we didn't even enslave them. We actually helped to free them. But we pay them reparations. Oh, I got proof from Investopedia. The Council for the Conference of Jewish Material Claims Against Germany. It says the council states that in the U.S. Holocaust compensation and restoration payments are excluded from calculations related to eligibility for federally funded benefits under the 1994 federal legislation. Payments made to individuals because of their status as victims of Nazi persecution are to be excluded from income and resources in determining both eligibilities and the number of benefits or services to be provided under any federal or federally assisted program which provides benefits or service based on needs, including Medicaid, supplemental Social Security income, food stamp, and federally subsidized housing programs. All these things that we have to fight for. All these things that we have to fight for, you freely give it to another ethnic group, and you didn't even enslave them. But the ones that you did enslave, you have no willingness to even help them in the condition that they're in. But you want to demonize them, and you want to belittle them, and you want to talk about them, and you still police them differently. But you did this to us. Those Nazi Jews, through their persecution, were brought over here for a better life. We were forced to come to this country. That is a difference. And you all want us to sweep under the rug the hurt and harm and horror that you inflicted on us. You want us to sweep it under the rug. If I'm not mistaken, we were promised 40 acres and a mule. But I'm not sure if anyone got that 40 acres and a mule. And even today, we need health care. Even today, we need economic opportunity. Even today, we need housing opportunity. Even today, we need education. Even today, we need medical services as far as counseling for mental anguish and mental abuse. That's all restoring to a good condition, Mitch McConnell. But you don't think that is a good idea. You are the problem. You are the problem that continues to put your knee on the neck of black people. Yes, I see the crime in Chicago. Yes, I see the crime in Baltimore. Yes, I see the crime in many states across this nation that is predominantly black. But there's a need in those communities. But you don't think reparations is a good idea. You are evil, Mitch McConnell. You are evil. And because your net worth is estimated around $22.5 million, so you're okay. And that's not even to mention the other stuff that you have that we don't know about. So your lineage that's coming behind you, your family that's coming behind you, they're going to be set. But how many of us have ancestors with a net worth of not even 22.5 million, even $1 million? How many of us have been left behind a legacy that we could tap into to help go start a business? How many of us has a legacy that we can write a letter to this university and we get preferential treatment because our ancestors laid foundations in these universities? How many of us have that same right, Mitch McConnell? But you don't think giving and paying reparations to black people a good idea because it happened over 150 years ago, because nobody who's currently living is responsible for that. You're wrong. You all are responsible for it. And you've never atoned for your original sin. Give us our reparations. Help us do better. If you really want us to do better, help us do better. But action speaks louder than words, Mitch McConnell. Action speaks louder than words. All these years of mental abuse, all these years of traumatization that my people have experienced, and now it is being manifested in violence amongst one another, and you don't think you have any responsibility for that? You have a hand in that, Mitch McConnell. You have a hand in that. Give us our reparations. Give us those opportunities for doors to be open to us. Give us those opportunities to have the same things as everyone else has. Give us those opportunities. It's our rights. We built this country. Free labor, slave labor. And you have the audacity to pay the men and women who own us money, but refuse to give us the opportunities to have reparations that will impact black people for the better. You, Mitch McConnell, are evil, and you should keep your mouth closed when it comes to things of that nature, because you are the problem. This is ODJ, Otis Drip Jones, MrDoItMan himself.